Okay, we're going to continue our discussion here. So this line here intersects the grid at these special points. Alright? Now, if we want to measure, or we want to figure out how to go from one point to another, it's kind of like city blocks. 2 blocks up, 1 block right. Okay? That is another way we can measure our slope instead of using this formula. We'll have to use this formula in another problem, but for right now, I'm going to measure slope going like this. We call it rise over run. That's convention. That's most mathematicians will call it, or math teachers, I should say. It's our change in y, so how far up or down on the y-axis we go, over our change in x, how far on the x-axis we go. So we're going to rise 2, so that's positive, and we're going to go right 1. So it's all positive here. If I were to look at our other graph here, if I started from this point, which is a nice point, okay, and I came over to this point right here where it intersects the x-axis, I would have to go down 1, 2, 3 blocks, so that's -3. So our slope here would be -3 going down, but then I'm going right 2, so it's +2. So our slope here would be -3 over 2. Well, we're not done with this problem. Remember, our goal here is to write an equation of this form. Well, I know what the slope is now, -3/2 x, and I now also know what the y-intercept is, plus b. I'm going to plus 3, so y equals -3/2 x plus 3. So this is our equation here. So make sure you do that for number 7. We're moving on to number 10. Okay? So I know we're jumping around a little bit. 9, 10, 11, and 12 are done almost the same way, or are done exactly the same way. I know the instructions for D, they want point slope form, and instructions for E, they want intercept form, slope intercept form. Okay? We haven't gone over point slope form, so don't worry about that. Write slope intercept form, which is the y equals mx plus b for each of these. Okay? So moving on to 10. Alright, so the problem here with 10 is I have 2 points, I don't know my slope, and I don't know my y-intercept. Well, remember, there is a formula for finding slope. You take the difference of the y's and divide it by the difference of the x's. Okay? Well, which one is y1, which one's y2? I'll be honest with you, it doesn't matter, as long as you're consistent. So both of these are labeled xy, and if you're feeling crazy and you want to say this is x2, this is y2, and this is x1, this is y1, you may do that. That is just fine. You can also do it the other way around. This is x1, y1, x2, y2. The order will change on your formula, but your result will be the same due to the commutative property of addition. So let's substitute these values in. So I know my y2 is going to be 3, and y1 is going to be 2, so I'm going to subtract those. Divided by x2 is going to be 4, and x1 is going to be 1, so I'm going to subtract those. And when I simplify that, I get 3 minus 2 is 1, 4 minus 1 is 3, so my slope is 1/3, and that's quite convenient. But how do I find the y-intercept? Well, you do have points right here. So just like you did for number 5 and 6, we're going to take one of these points, and we're going to substitute it into our formula here. We're going to substitute our slope into our formula. Zoom out a little bit. And we're going to substitute xy. It doesn't matter which point. Pick a point. Let's pick 1, 2. We're going to substitute this xy for xy here and solve for b. Okay? And we can do that right here on this side. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to pick this point right here. So y is 2. Slope is 1/3. X is 1. And then you have b. So this is going to be 2 equals 1/3 plus b. I'm going to subtract 1/3 from both sides of my equation. That will cancel this out. So 1/3 minus 1/3 is 0. And 2 minus 1/3 is 1 2/3. And if you don't know how to do, or where I got that, please look it up. It's subtracting fractions. Whole numbers subtracting fractions. We're not done. All we've done is gotten our y-intercept. Okay? So our y-intercept, so our equation is going to look like this. Y equals 1/3 x, and this is positive, so positive 1 2/3. Okay? And that would be our equation for number 10. You need to complete 9, 11, and 12. Alright? And if I slide down here to 13 and 14, you may not be able to see it, but the line that they're referring to is this line right here. And you need to write an equation for it, just like we did before. The hard part about this, and then this is the line right here on this right side. The line, it's right below the x-axis. The hard part here is going to be, what's the slope? Remember, rise over run. It is possible to have 0 for the rise or 0 for the run. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to make an equation. Alright? So I'm going to use a different video to describe the word problems, and then I'll post all 3